Hello there. Welcome to the Harley Carnes podcast. Harley on the headlines today. This is going to be a pretty quick look at some of the stories of the day. We're going to talk about them a little bit. May have an opinion or two. You know, I really do hope that you are getting something good from these brief visits. They're enjoyable. We're just looking at stories. And stories are our life. You know, it's what's going on in the world. And sometimes it's just straight up reporting. Sometimes, we'll talk about it a little bit. I do appreciate your support. I really do. Can't do it without you. Liking, following, subscribing. All of that makes a real difference. Sharing the link with someone. Passing the word. Word of mouth. I thank you for it. I really do. President Trump has arrived in China for his summit. It is a really, really big deal. High-stakes issues are on the table for discussion, covering a very broad range, and Iran is just one. He also has 16 of the world's biggest and most powerful executives in tow, with all manner of possibilities evident. We should all wish them well, with hopes and prayers for real progress toward a more peaceful and prosperous world, because these are some of the people who can make it happen. The rest of the West seems to get it now. The Strait of Hormuz must be open for shipping and not held hostage by Iran. Everyone seems to understand now that, as some pretty good military minds suggested weeks ago, it will take force, at the very least an undeniable expression of it, to make that happen. Iran has depended on the U.S. going it alone, which makes it possible to isolate the problem to us versus them, meaning Iran versus the U.S. Then they can play the waiting game, talk about negotiating, with no real intention to do it, and work out a deal in which they sit astride the strait like a toll collector. At least that's what they think. Now Britain is sending drones and jet fighters and a warship or two, plus mine hunters and mine-clearing specialists and equipment to help pry Iran's fingers from the throat of the strait. 40 nations are joining a defensive mission to protect freedom of navigation through Hormuz. And if the rest of the world understands the pressing need and is working on a strategy to help, maybe Democrats in our own Congress can get with the program too. Now, Iran has been complaining that the deployment of military assets is an escalation and a militarization of the waterway. But the strait is already militarized by Iran, which is using what's left of its military to choke it and close it down. But like I said, Iran decries the escalation because it means the U.S. no longer stands alone and cannot be isolated with stalling tactics, propaganda campaigns, and gullible, feckless Democrats in Washington who could help restore order quickly if their support were wholehearted and full-throated. And why is that? Because Iran would realize that its tactics in the face of a united free world would sound like timid squeaking, and both China and Russia would gladly sit quietly on the sidelines and let it happen because they need the strait open too. Obviously. Should be obvious, I think. Georgia politics can be pretty interesting. Brad Raffensperger is the Secretary of State in the land of peaches, and he is a Republican. He also has to deal with a bomb scare just before a campaign event in Macon at Middle Georgia Regional Airport. He is not deterred. He said, when you put people ahead of politics, some people may try to intimidate you or do you harm. Police say it was an active threat, but Raffensperger, who is a moderate Republican, says, of course his candidacy will continue. The event was delayed while the airport was bomb-sniffed and searched. What they called a suspicious object was found hidden inside a soft drink machine. His office also received a threatening 4-page manifesto, details of which have not been released. The GOP primary is in 6 days. Attacks on FBI Director Kash Patel have turned pretty personal. Some Democrats who are known to really enjoy the D.C. political cocktail party circuit are accusing Patel of drinking too much. Whether it's a pots and kettles kind of thing or putting a finger on a real Patel proclivity is hard to tell. There has been a report in the Atlantic magazine that claims Patel is something of a drunk. Patel is suing the publication for $250 million in damages, calling it a malicious hit piece. Now, in truth, it can be that. It can also be true. I don't know. It was entertaining to watch, though. Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen challenging Patel to take a drug test to see if chronic over-imbibing might be detected. Patel told him, sure, if you'll take the same test. There is such a test, by the way. It's called the Alcohol Use Disorders Identification Test. Patel said, let's go, side by side. And he recalled Van Hollen's infamous flush face at a bar drinking margaritas while visiting an illegal alien in El Salvador who had been tossed out of the U.S., controversially so, worth pointing out. Keeping an eye on Samsung Electronics, labor talks have broken down there. Could be a major strike, and we love Samsung products. Hope they fix it pretty quick, right? Planet Fitness is in some trouble with many of its customers, women customers. If there's one thing a woman at a gym wants, it is to feel safe in the locker room and in the showers after a workout. A woman in New Hampshire, Judy Walcott, says she was freaked out and trembling when a man entered the shower area. She said he was lurking there. She said he was freaky. She didn't like him, She was scared of him. She reported him. And 2 hours later, Planet Fitness canceled her membership, called the cops, and threw her off the property. So much for security. She says the gym didn't even send someone to check. Said it was okay. Company policy. Well, now women are leaving the gym in droves, and the value of Planet Fitness is said to be down more than $400 million. Women are not just loving this whole woke transgender guy in the bathroom thing. It's still a man in the shower or whatever, and it's not cool. It has been dangerous in some cases. There have been rapes of women in bathrooms when the men came in. Ms. Walcott asked, what does it take? Are we being sacrificed in the name of inclusion? She asked that question of Fox, but a lot of reporters are talking about this. And the short answer to that is, yes, you are. This is that story I was thinking of earlier when I said, we don't know what we're going to find when we start today. Lots of people love catfish. Catfish are one of nature's janitors. They help clean up the rivers of the nation by dining on dead things. Well, so do crabs and lobsters and a lot of other creatures in the rivers, lakes, and seas. One honking huge blue catfish has been found in the Swanee River in Florida. New state record, 73.6 pounds. Big-ass ugly fish. Looked to be more than 4 feet long from forked tail to wide sucking snout. By the way, blue catfish as a species are not even in the top 3 for size in the world. The largest catfish is the Mekong giant catfish found in Vietnam and Thailand and the rest of Southeast Asia. Among the other top 3, the Wells catfish of Eurasia and the Paraiba that lives in South America. There are about 36 families of catfish and dozens of subspecies, ranging from huge, bigger than you catfish, I don't care how big you are, and really tiny. And none of them are what you call beautiful. Nearly all catfish can leave you with a painful sting, so you need to avoid grabbing the area around their dorsal or pectoral fins. And there's also a species called electric, nasty fish that lives in the Nile and tropical African rivers. And it can give you a 350-volt electric shock and then eat you because it's carnivorous. On the other hand, people also eat them, so I guess that's fair. Anyway, catfish are pretty interesting. And if you're hungry, most folks recommend river cats, pan-sized, deep-fried, with potato salad, coleslaw, and hush puppies, and a mason jar full of sweet iced tea, or a beer. It's all good, y'all. Really is. Thank you for joining us today. You know, if you find some good stuff in these brief visits, sure hope you'll come back. Like I say, y'all come back now, yeah? Bring some folks with you. I like to acknowledge that when you tune in, you are giving me some of your time, man. Look, I get it. Time is precious, and I appreciate it. Please help spread the word. I'm Harley Carnes. Until next time, please do yourself a great big favor. Make some good, conscious choices in your life today. Make a decision to be happy. And fly safe. It's the only way to get there. It really is. So I've noticed.